Kane Show. I'm your host. Welcome to the Six Ring King Show. What's going on, everybody? I'm joined by Danny Gillette, Paul Austria, and Jakari Givens, all of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. This is Jazz Santana. Thank you guys for joining us. We're back at it again, fellas. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Feeling excited.
All right, good. I know we got a lot to cover. We'll try to keep it short because next week is the big week, right? September 10th, baby. UAB has finally been announced. We're playing University of Alabama Birmingham at 8 p.m. on the ACC network. I like the scheduling. So
kind of sucks though, because I don't know if we all got ACC network in South Florida.
A lot of people don't.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky enough to have it. Unless I'm at the game, right? Who knows? We might be at the game as well, covering it. Depends on what they let us media members do on that. Us tiny little media members, but it's all good. It's all good. I definitely want to break down. Look, I know we were able to get in on some of these interviews and some of these press conferences that were happening the last couple of days. I know Coach Manny Diaz had some nice things to say today, as well as some other guys like Nesta Silvera, John Ford, and yesterday, Coach Lashlee was talking a little bit about the offense, a little bit about the offensive line as well, which I guess I can say I was interested to see in who he spoke about on the offensive line. He really pointed out Usman Traore, who's the kid that came in last year. Didn't know too much about him. Still don't know too much about him, but apparently he's raving. He's raving about him. And then obviously we got to hear from Mark Pope, wide receiver Mark Pope, who we haven't really heard from much lately, right? We've been talking about it, but we got to hear from him and also his counterpart over there at Miami Southridge and now with the Kings, also Dee Wiggins. So we'll start with that, then we'll kind of go into some offensive and defensive breakdowns and maybe kind of get an idea as to what we think lineups are going to be like, the starting lineups for each side. But first, I want to go into what Coach Rhett Lashlee said a little bit about the offensive line, and maybe Paul, I'll start with you on this. Usman Traore, where does he fit in on this offensive line? I know that they are going to have a scrimmage on Friday and probably shore up the starting lineups all across the board. Then, what do you see happening on the offensive line?
Hopefully it's not hopefully the shuffling of cards kind of comes to an end this week. It's funny because I think Coach Diaz also spoke about him today, called him a very steady presence at guard, very, very tough. As far as I know, I think he's a sophomore. Is he? Because I remember there was a whole thing last year where he was immediately eligible, but then he ended up not playing. I mean, who knows whether he could have helped the team or not. But I think you definitely at right tackle, definitely Jared Williams. That was the guy Derek Kane had at Houston. Center, it's definitely Gaynor. Right guard, I believe, is Scaife. Scaife has been a steady guy, and hopefully Gary Justice can really kind of get him to buckle down after kind of regressing the past couple of years. I think he's a junior. And left tackle, who am I?
John Campbell, maybe? John
Campbell, yeah. I think they spoke a lot about John Campbell. They really, really like Campbell. He's gotten a lot better, and it's crazy because Campbell thought about transferring last year. Or was that even this? I think it was like October-ish where he put his name in the portal. Thank God they were able to get him to come back. I think he's 6'4", 315, I think. He's at a good weight. And I think it's definitely big that they kept him, and I feel like they have solid depth on the line right now, and that's even without not knowing whether Isaiah Walker will be immediately eligible for the season.
Another kid that was thinking about transferring, put his name in the portal, came back, Cleveland Reed, right? I believe they may have mentioned him a little bit as a kid who possibly can come in and contribute this year as well. I know some other guys like Ja'Kai Clark, Zion Nelson, even.
Yeah.
I know Navon Donaldson opted out, so he's not going to be a factor. But even some of the younger kids like Jalen Rivers, who's apparently been in the clinic.
Yeah, they just mentioned Cleveland Reed is now working at center. He moved over from offensive guard and is working at center. Just like what Corey, that's what Corey Garner said about Reed. So we kind of see them both like swapping and all trying to kind of learn each position on the offensive line, just to see who fits where. I think the right tackle position is shored up. Like we know who's gonna be there, and also I think they expect a lot from Scaife, so I think he's gonna be a mainstay in the lineup. John Campbell, I'm kind of interested to see. Let's see how he progresses, but I think he has all the tools to be a good left tackle. I did see some of the quotes you guys mentioned about how much easier the offense is for the kids. I know Mark Pope spoke about that. So I think that also helps everybody, because if it's a quicker offense, the offensive line doesn't have to block for as long. So that's another thing to look at why they are trying to shore up the five guys too.
Yeah, and look, Danny, I want to come to you on this because going back to Mark Pope and even Dee Wiggins, although we haven't heard a lot from Mark Pope during training camp, I guess per se, practice, he seems to be a lot more loose, right? A lot more comfortable in speaking about the system and Coach Lashlee and everybody else around him. He seems to be more lax, seems to be a little more confident in his playmaking abilities. And, it could be, listen, a lot of guys, I kind of equate this to baseball, right? You could be a 2 o'clock hitter, right? But when it comes to the lights, he may turn it on this year. I don't know. It's still yet to be seen. But what did you take out of those comments, Danny?
Well, when you take a look at Rhett Lashlee's offense, he had the third most plays ran per game nationally at 80.9 last year. And the quicker offense, some players love it, some players hate it. But when it comes to the wide receiver position, there's a lot of opportunity for players to make an impact early and often. And I kind of want to tie that into like the line, because the line, they're working on getting better, and the line has to be on top of their game this year. A Rhett Lashlee offense is very quick. Miami has the weapons to execute this quick offense, but the players are going to need to be on top of their game, because a quick offense can either be really good or really bad. It can either, players could either be fatigued or they could take to it easily and adjust. And I'll be interested to see what Pope does, because he had a decent year last year and we were able to see instances where he broke out. Now it's about putting it all together.
Gotcha. Real quick, Paul, before we get to it, I see a comment here that says, yo, where can I get that hat? And seems to be this Sean Taylor hat right here. I'm going to give a shout out to my boys over at Parks and Rec. They have some really nice gear, and they do support the Miami Hurricanes. They're a big Miami Hurricane fans, so you can definitely follow them. Jay Perez, you can definitely follow them at Parks and Rec. Their local clothing line. Parks and Rec is with a W, WRECK, Parks and Rec. So check it out. See, that's their logo right there. It's a really cool hat. Somebody told me, is this 26th Street? I'm like, get it together, guys. It's Sean Taylor, ST, for the God. My goodness.
What is 26th Street even?
Yeah,
what does that even refer to?
I don't even live on 26th Street. Anyways, so really quick, I want to get into a little bit more about the offense and the defense. I know Manny Diaz had a couple of things to say today about the rest of the team. Paul, can you kind of elaborate a little bit on what Coach Diaz said at his presser?
Well, one thing that really caught my attention when he said it was that he felt like the team now is a lot more connected than the team was a year ago. And one thing I think you definitely attribute that to is leadership, where, we kind of thought that Jaren was the guy last year, and he, with him being starting quarterback, he's the ultimate leader of the team, kind of setting the example. Well, kind of see how that turned out. And then now you have a guy like Derek King, who's definitely taking charge. I mean, once he arrived on campus in the spring, like he was already calling up guys like Mark Pope and Dee Wiggins, like, hey, you guys want to run routes? You guys want to get some work in? And they were down. And I know he reached out to a lot of people with that. And also Diaz said that at least with the coaching staff, they feel like they have a better group of like-minded people. So when you have that, chemistry is definitely better. Players definitely buy it. And they acknowledge that they're all working towards a common goal, and they understand what it takes to reach that common goal. And that was, to me, is it kind of gives me I guess, reassurance that Diaz is definitely taking this job seriously, as he should. But he's not he understands that what he did last year, or some certain things that he did last year may not have worked as well as he liked, and he's willing to kind of get better and take necessary steps to help this team win. And I think we mentioned this earlier, but I know he was asked about the offensive line. I forgot who asked it, but they asked him if the scheme kind of helps the O line become more consistent. And he kind of said the scheme does help, but everyone on the O line understands that they still have a job to do. It's not I don't think they want to kind of use the scheme as a way to quote unquote hide the offensive line deficiencies. I think they understand that they still have to get better and they still have the job to do. And even though it's a very quick hitting, quick passing kind of offense, you still don't want to slack with your technique, slack with your reps, and I think it's a very it's a lot of good signs right now. And also he mentioned that they're moving Patrick Joyner back to defensive end, which is more of his natural position. I think
it's a good move.
Yeah, I agree.
When he was a senior in high school, I think he led Dade County in sacks
as
a defensive end. So it's a big thing. And also Robert Burns, I think Jazz, you brought that up in the last episode or the week before. He said that he's now participating in practices and reps as well. So
listen, I think before, I understand he may have had some issues and he's constantly battling injury issues, but I was a big Robert Burns fan. I love the kid, the way he ran, the way he played. I know in the limited action that we saw him, even at Gulliver, he looked like an elite running back, one of the top running backs in the country. He just kept getting hurt. And then at UM, he's still having the same issues here with the Canes. But if he can keep it together, that's a guy that you have to throw in there and let and see what he's going to do. I just don't know how he's going to get back into the mix now with the way Jalen Knighton and Don Chaney are playing, but that's still going to be yet to be seen. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, God forbid anything happens on Friday at the scrimmage. It's all going to play itself out. So I think we'll be fine with that. And, alluding back, Jakari, maybe you could touch on this a little bit, alluding back to the offense and how it's running so smooth and the quick hits and so many plays being run. And I know someone mentioned regarding, well, hey, there's been other, teams that run the same offense that have not succeeded or done bad. And I think that Paul said something that makes a lot of sense. You got to buy into the system. Not only do you have to buy into the system, but you got to trust your coach. And if the coach makes a mistake or if the coach starts off on a bad foot, okay, then you're going to lose credibility as a coach, and kids are not going to respect you or are going to want to play in the offense as good as it is. And unfortunately, we mentioned Willie Taggart at FSU with his offense, but he started off on the wrong foot right off the bat there at FSU, right? So it's kind of hard to get that back and for the players to trust you to run the right offense and be successful. I think that from what it sounds like here, Rhett Lashlee has really put this team together, and the cohesiveness and the trust is there amongst everybody. So, Jakari, tell me a little bit about that offense. What can we expect from these guys as far as the offense as a whole?
All right, I want to allude to one point, what Paul said about the quarterback position and the leaders. Coming from playing college football and, getting a shot professionally, the leader on the team isn't always going to be the quarterback. I know everybody wants to drive that point home, like, oh, this guy's the leader or the quarterback's the leader. 9 times out of 10, most cases, they're not going to be the guys because you just have guys who play quarterback who lead by example. Like, for instance, the Tom Brady, everybody loves him as a leader because he's a lead by example. He's talking to everyone. Then you got someone like Aaron Rodgers, who kind of has like a persona of he's just to himself and he's just gonna play football. So we can't always allude that the quarterback was the issue with the leader. The leader of the team should be the head coach from day one, and he trickled down and it trickles down to whoever the guy may be. It doesn't necessarily have to be the quarterback. I also want to reference this. So the offense, we have to think about it like this. All these offenses are copying what Baylor was doing when RG3 had that Heisman Trophy season. So it was a lot of
started, right?
Yeah, so it was a lot of playing against them in college. It was a lot of quick hitting offense, run the ball, throw it over your head, over the top, stuff like that. So you're gonna see that, and even though they, as a coaching staff, don't want to admit that this offense is gonna hide the offensive line, it is, because we're getting the ball out to your athletes. It's extended running game with the quick passes. Here we go. Bam, get it out there. Mark Pope, turn it up 5-6 yards a catch. So the offense is going to be fast paced, and you're going to see a lot of up tempo. But that tempo is used to wear the defense down. So as the game wears on, we hitting the RPO play action passes right over your head, touchdown, because the defense is so used to the run game coming. I think the only difference with Lashlee's offense now is he'll be able to rely more on the run game and the quarterback run game, because at SMU he had Shane Buechele, and Shane Buechele can run, but he's not as athletic as Derrick King.
Yeah.
And then the other back they had, I forgot the kid name over there. He was okay, but his different level of talent right now that he's dealing with. So his offense will, to me, in my opinion, be more run game related, because they'll be able to do a lot more scheme-wise to get their receivers to make plays with the running game. So I think we'll see when they play UAB, they're experimenting a little bit, but I think you'll see, like, a 100-yard rushing game from Cam Harris, Knighton chipping in with 80 yards, Chaney chipping in with 50 yards, Derrick King will throw for about 300 yards and probably about 3-4 touchdowns. But the touchdowns you guys are going to see is quick play action, Brevin Jordan, Will Mallory, or a shot to Mark Pope, or a shot to Dee Wiggins, or something like that. So you'll see a more quick-hitting game, and it'll benefit us, because when you have the athletes on the perimeter, like, the offensive line is a problem, and they don't want to admit it, but it's a problem. So,
well, I hope it's not a problem anymore, man. I really hope not. I hope they've gotten it together. I don't think it's going to be as much of a problem as it was last year, because of some of the guys that came in, like Jerry Williams, and maybe even a kid like John Campbell has kind of stepped it up. DJ Scaife is now in his third year. I mean, Corey Gate. I mean, it's experience. I get it. It's experience from the guys that weren't as good last year. But like you said, Jakari, I give you credit on that. It's going to hide deficiencies. Could that? I mean, at the end of the day, that could make him a better offensive line either way, though.
Because at Baylor, if you look back at that offensive line, how many draft picks did they have?
No idea.
None. Correct. 2, look at the skill players they had drafted. The receivers: Kendall Wright, Corey Coleman, Jay Lee, KD Cannon, C. Strunk, the running back, RG3. All those guys were getting drafted or getting shots in the NFL because, as a player, and once you start watching the film, you'll be like, these guys ain't blocking for nothing but 3 seconds. I can't take them serious on the offensive line.
Michael Gallup went to Baylor also, right?
No, Michael Gallup went to – he didn't go to Baylor. Josh Gordon went to Baylor, though.
Josh Gordon went to Baylor. You're right.
Josh Gordon went to Baylor. And then also the only spread offensive team that you can count on your hand that you can be like consistently has since Lincoln Riley took over is Oklahoma, who's had guys drafted on the offensive line. But that's more so because of the pedigree that Oklahoma is running with.
Well, let's hope some of that pedigree for some reason wears off to us.
Yes, it should though. Miami has the talent to have these kids drafted at the offensive and defensive line. Defensive line, we already know for sure is gonna get some guys, and I think from what we're hearing and seeing is that Manny Diaz is more prepared as a head coach. I brought it up in one of my Jock Tape videos where I said the success of the Canes depends on how he matured and got better as a coach. The talent is always going to be there. He's recruiting his ass off. He's recruiting his ass off. You have a quarterback. So Derrick King is proven. We know what he can do. Right. But let's see how Manny Diaz, and we're going to see in the first game of the season, how they come out and play. This game should be a blowout from the jump. Well prepared. Look like how Clemson does when they play someone they're overmatched against.
Right. Oh, I got you. I kind of want to pivot over now to our next topic of discussion, which we're getting close to game time, right? and we still have a lot of question marks. And I don't mean question marks in a negative way, but we don't know where some, at some positions who's going to start yet. And I kind of want to run down the defense first. I want to break down the defense first. I think we have an idea as to who's going to start. On the line at defensive line, it's probably going to be Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips, and then in the middle it's going to be Nesta and John Ford. Right, we've got that line. Your outside guys at corner are probably going to be Ivy and
Blades,
right, and Al Blades starting off right now. Your striker is going to be Gilbert Frierson. So we kind of got that down, right? I know there's going to be a lot
and then Bubba Bolden going to be at safety.
Bubba Bolden and Bubba Bolden probably
Garvin Hall, yeah.
Amari Carter might get some time as striker also, or maybe come down and play a little linebacker because he's big enough to play. Still the biggest question mark is who's going to start at linebacker. And I know, Jakar, you brought up the 4-2-5 defense. I don't know if Manny or Blake Baker or anybody has kind of alluded to what they're going to do as far as, what scheme they're going to run. We still have a question mark at linebacker. Is it going to be Sam Brooks? Is it going to be Avery Huff with Zach? We know Zach McLeod.
I think they're going to get him. They're going to get him the shot based off seniority.
Sam Brooks. What's your prediction, Jock? Give me your prediction on the starting 3 linebackers. Man, you got give me something, dude.
All right, so McLeod's a given, and I'm gonna give Brooks because I like him how he played at Northwestern. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
And who's the other guy? And just for argument's sake, we run like a 4-3, and the striker doesn't start. Who's the third? Okay, put it this way: who's the third linebacker? Period. Who's the third linebacker? Not just doesn't like the linebackers, man.
I can't give you
the backs. That's who you start. You start all of the.
I can't give you a third guy because, to be honest, with Jordan going back to DN, that's kind of was gonna be the guy who I thought they would sprinkle in just to see if he can pick it up at linebacker, but. With him going back to DN, the depth at defensive line, but I don't know who the third guy is. I'll throw it to Paul to see who he got.
Well, who's your starting linebacker?
Okay, so first 2 are definitely in agreement with Jakari. I definitely think that McLeod's a given. Brooks he's a dog. Like it's funny because a lot of people could say that he's definitely underweight for a linebacker, especially coming in as a freshman. I think he was like just around 200 pounds. But that man can't tackle. He doesn't shy away from physicality, and he went to Northwestern too. So that guy's a dog.
Dade County. I mean, when you recruit guys that's undersized, most of the times those guys are going to be animals anyway.
He's what, 220 now?
I think so. Yeah,
he
220.
He doesn't need to be 250 pounds to play linebacker now.
Oh yeah, agreed. And those guys from those like Northwestern, Central. What's the other school? There's another school. Booker T. Like those guys are always built different.
Yeah.
So basically, if you play at Trice Powell, you're definitely up there. The other guy, I would say, my gut feeling is Jennings. I think if Jennings stays healthy, he's definitely a guy they can count on. He's definitely I guess the safe pick. In terms of kind of experience. And leadership. I think Huff will definitely be the guy down the road, probably like maybe even next year or the year after. But they'll definitely get him in the rotation for sure. I just think that. Yeah, so, I think Jennings is the guy.
To clarify, Jazz, though, the UM is already running the 4-2-5. Anytime you hit any defense with a striker, star, and any of those positions, it's a 4-2-5.
Yeah, that makes sense. DJ, what do you think, Danny?
I'm excited for Brooks because when you look at what he did in limited action last year, he certainly made an impact. In the bowl game that Miami played in last year, the Independence Bowl, he had 12 tackles. He also got some playing time in the opener against Bethune-Cookman last year. Yes, it's Bethune-Cookman, but he managed to record 5 tackles. So I'm really excited to see if he can take that extra step and really become a solid linebacker for Miami.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be Brooks. definitely. But the next guy up, I think I agree with Paul. I think it's Bradley Jennings.
Do you think that with Joyner making his late move to DN, do he get in the rotation?
Joyner?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he will. I think at this point, he's been a part of this team for 3 or 4 years. I think if he doesn't, I think he's got some some thinking to do on whether he wants to
stay or I
hate to say it, but stay around, because he's got talent. But now you got a guy like Jalen Phillips, you got Quincy Roche, you got the Williams brother.
But Roach is gonna be a 1-year guy because I think he has a future.
He is, but then you also got Jafari Harvey, who's there, who's making a name for himself and has been on the line, since last year. I know Jordan moved to linebacker last year, so can he get in? Listen, it's an opportunity. If he gets in against UAB, he better show out, right?
Correct.
He's gonna.
I also want to see how Carter does as well because last year he had some plays where it was like, okay, this guy looked like he can play. Yeah. And then he also had some plays where it was just like,
well, that lick that he laid at I think there was a Virginia Tech receiver in the end zone, right? That basically almost knocked his head off, and he led with the shoulder, and he got kicked out for leading with the head or the crown or whatever the case was.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, targeting, but I don't think it was a target. But either way, I mean, he's going to have to step up because, again, like you said, you got other guys at the cornerback and safety position, at the strike
and the strike and safety position are interchangeable when you think about it. Because the bona fide safety. So
I agree, but you also got Keontre Smith, who's pushing Gilbert Frierson as well at that striker position. And then at cornerback, you got Christian Williams, and you got Isaiah Dunson, and a couple of the other guys, Marcus Clark.
Couch.
So you got Corey Couch for nickel right now, and then Brian Ballum as well. It's a safety position. I mean, there's a lot of talent back there. So Amari Carter, Jock, is gonna have to have, one of those seasons where he's gonna have to stand out. If not, he's gonna get passed up.
Yeah. So I pulled up the depth chart for right now on the defensive side of the ball. Your starting defense, if they play today, Phillips, Ford, Silverell, Roach, Pearson at striker, Zach McLeod at middle, Sam Brooks at weak side linebacker, Ivy, Bolden, Hall, and Blades.
There you go.
Yeah,
it is.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I see that. I see that 100%.
I do think that Carter will play plenty, though.
I think he will. I think he's going to.
Everyone's saying Carter got a lot better.
Yeah, but D-line is a rotational position. So
that too. Jordan Miller is another kid. We haven't really spoken about Jordan Miller, and he actually didn't play bad last year. I think he's going to have a big role in this year's defense.
Because you got to think we're going to have a pass rush package, so we'll have our best 4 pass rushers on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
So D-line is an interchangeable position. A lot of rotation goes on in the game at that position.
And I think that we won't know who our best 4 pass rushers are until at least game, after the first game it'll start developing. So you'll see that rotation kind of develop and set up and move around a little bit as the season progresses. So let's turn the tables over. Let's go to offense a little bit, because I think that's more of for me it's more of a question mark, honestly, because we've got too many questions at offensive line, and even for me, even for wide receiver, who's going to be that third guy? Is it Mike Harley? Is it Xavier Restrepo? Is it one of the young kids, Keyshawn? Somebody we haven't really spoken about who he probably will take a red shirt this year. Maybe a guy like Daslin Worsham, who we stole from Alabama, basically, right? He flipped over from Alabama, so the kid has talent, and there's a lot of talent there also. But let's focus on that offensive line, right? So, let's start. Go ahead, Jock. Let's start with you. What you think? What do you think is going to happen on that offensive line? Who's going to start?
So their starting. I'm gonna read off their star. I'm gonna read out the starting depth chart for you right now.
Okay.
So at receiver X is Dee Wiggins.
Okay.
Pope at receiver Z. Receiver F, they got Harley. At left tackle, we got Campbell. Left guard, Donaldson. Garner at center. Scaife at right guard, and Zion Nelson at right tackle.
But you see, that's outdated because Donaldson's sitting out, and I think that was probably before Gary Williams probably transferred over. Correct. So that's why I think that's going to change.
Yeah.
For me, me, it's Jared Williams at right tackle.
I think that's the. I think he's not coming from Houston to sit on the bench, in my opinion.
No. Danny Gillette, tell me, what do you think the offensive line is going to look like?
I feel like the list that Jock rattled off was pretty accurate. I do think that the transfer from Houston is going to make an impact. You saw that they kind of brought him and De'Aaron King in together almost. I believe he came to Miami a week after they got King. So I definitely see him playing a role in adding familiarity for King within, the offense. He gets a guy that he's played with before, and I see the line, in all the depth charts that I've looked at, they seem pretty solid. I think that the line's going to have their work cut out for them this year for sure, but they definitely have talent there. I do think this offense will be able to mask some of their deficiencies, but I do think that they can get the job done for sure.
Paul, who's your starting five?
Okay, starting five, left tackle is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be Campbell, but I have heard good things about Zion Nelson. Okay, I'm going to say Campbell. I'm going to say Campbell, left tackle. Final answer. Left guard, I have Traore. I made a list. Traore as the left guard. Center is going to definitely be Gainer. Okay. Right guard, I would go with
Scaife. Yeah,
Scaife.
That's a foregone conclusion.
And then right tackle, Jared Williams for sure.
The right guard and right tackle position is probably the positions that we know the most.
The right side, basically.
And I think Corey Gainer.
Gainer.
My top five, my top five is definitely going to be, just based off of what is going on. It seems like Zion Nelson is kind of disappeared from the depth chart a little bit. I don't know. Again, that could all change. They may be leading us one way and doing something else, but I'm still going to go with John Campbell at left tackle, and then at left guard, just based off of all the talk, right? Recently with Ousmane Traore, I think I got to go with him as left guard right now. Also, now that's another thing, right? There's going to be some rotating, at least at the beginning, to kind of get a feel. I don't think they're going to do as much rotation as they've done in the past. I don't think you can. But at the same time, with the speed of the offense, you may have to, because some of these big boys might get a little tired. But I think it's going to be John Campbell at left tackle. I think that it's going to be, to begin at least, Ousmane Traore. And I think I can see a guy like Ja'Kai Clark get some time at left guard as well. Corey Gainer is going to be your starting center. No doubt about that. And then the right side, again, DJ Scaife and Jared Williams. I'm definitely on board with that.
One thing I'll tell you, Jazz, at offensive line and spread offenses and up-tempo offenses, the offensive linemen don't get that tired because they're not – it's not that much movement going on for them because of how quick. The only thing they're doing is pretty much hustling to the next spot of the ball. That's about it.
Yeah, running up the field.
Right. It's basically stand up, push someone, and let him go, and then keep going to the next play. It's not you don't have to hold a block like that, right? Okay, well that makes sense. Okay, so maybe you won't see that much rotation, which is good also because I think continuity and consistency is an important thing there. Absolutely. I think everything else is kind of set in, I wouldn't say in stone, but Mark Pope, Dee Wiggins on the outside, Mike Harley at the slot. I think you're going to see a lot of 4 and 5 wide receiver sets. I think you're going to see a lot from Mike Harley, but also from Restrepo, from Keyshawn Smith.
I think in that first game you're going to see a whole lot of receivers the first game.
Absolutely.
Running back.
Yeah.
Running back, I wouldn't be surprised if the Burns kid got some touches, but we for sure know Harris, Knight, and Chaney are gonna get touches. And those guys
If the first half, if we're blowing them out in the first half, you're gonna see N'Kosi Perry in the second half. You're gonna see Robert Burns. You're gonna see Tyler Van Dyke in the second half.
Yeah.
You're gonna see all those guys definitely. I agree.
Speaking of Perry, though, Diaz also said that he hasn't decided on a backup QB yet. He's going to decide after this Friday, so that's also something to watch out for.
We haven't spoken about Tate Martell, and I think he has a legitimate shot at being the backup to D'Eriq King because of his style of play.
Yeah, I will say this though: the scrimmage on Friday, is no starters are going to be in that scrimmage. So the guys who you hear not too much from, those are your starters, right? The scrimmage on Friday is going to be fringe guys, travel roster guys, just to see who makes the final cut. Another thing I will tell you guys with all the preseason talk that it has coming from experience is believe very little of what you hear about the quarterback position, because they're never going to talk bad about the quarterback position, because it was times when I was at Kansas where they would like talk to the media and they'll say about the quarterback position. I'd be like, "What practice are you watching?" Because I'm not watching that. So Fridays.
How long ago was that, Jakari? How long ago did you play at Kansas?
My last year was 2015.
Oh, you're an old man already, man.
But Friday scrimmage though, no starters gonna be involved. It's just be all the travel roster guys. So you'll know who, we'll see those are special team guys, stuff like that, or who guys who second or third screen. So Perry and Van Dyke
and Martell,
all those guys are gonna get heavy snap. But to me, I'm not gonna lie though, man. I think Martell has a chance to actually get some reps, behind, to be the guy, because I think this offense that they're gonna run now fits him to the perfect.
Yeah, for him, because he's the guy. I mean, he still may not be as athletic as the D'Eriq King, but I mean, he was playing wide receiver last year for a reason, because he is quick. He's quick. He may not be the fastest.
Athlete. He's a great athlete.
He's an athlete.
All those kids at Ohio State are freaks. So
yeah. So I mean, exactly. I mean, so I could definitely see that happening even as early as next year. So we'll see what happens. Jock, Danny, Paul. I think next week what we'll do, guys, is we'll focus on season preview. All right. Maybe we'll have a special guest or two on. Hopefully we'll do that. We'll work on that, getting a couple special guests on. That'll be fun. And we'll preview the game on Thursday against UAB against, I don't even know, what are they, Dragons or something like that? The Blazers.
Blazers.
UAB Blazers.
They just got their football team back like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like 2 years ago. Listen, Jock, if you don't have the ABC network, brother, you got to go get it, okay?
Now we're going to stream the game on your TV. $3.99. Jazz gonna call the game.
All right, we'll do it. You want to do that? A little live commentating, a little color commentating?
We can, for the people who don't have ACC network. I think our following would like that. Because half of South Florida doesn't have it. I mean, you can just go live and we can.
I don't have it either, so I'm in.
Well, I don't know. Based off of FAA regulation, I don't know if we can do that. We might get a fine, and Ethan might not like that one too much. So
we'll pay the fine. It'll be worth it.
By the way, I don't have my shirt on. Show the shirt, fellas. Show the shirt. I know you two got it on. Yeah, there you go.
5 rings.
5 rings, baby.
Yeah, baby.
There you go.
5 Reasons Apparel, I think, or 5, right? Is it 5 Reasons Apparel?
Correct.
Yep. Check us out there. Go support the show and the 5 Rings podcast as well with Alex Dono and Bluestein and Larry Bluestein. So you can check us out there. Tell these guys where they can catch you guys, Jock.
King Jock 24 on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere.
Awesome. Paul.
It's the handle you see down below on your screen. It's Paul Austria _ on both Twitter and Instagram. Whenever we get access to the press conferences, I'm listening, and I will be providing live quotes for everyone.
There you go. Danny Gillette, tell them where they can find you, buddy.
DGillette95 on both Twitter and Instagram. I'll be writing a bunch of stuff over the next couple of days, so stay tuned.
There we go. And I'm Jazz Santana, but you can find me at 5 Reasons Canes. All right, at 5 Reasons Canes. Check us out there for the latest Canes news. And we'll come back at you next week to preview what is going to be an exciting time, baby. September 10th.
Game week.
Next week.
Go Canes.
Prediction.